I've got a friend of mine and a business owner herself. I've known her for a while. I'm going to bring her up. We're going to talk life, may talk a little chickens, but we're also going to talk your digital marketing, branding. None other, Monica Bishop, owner of Monican Marketing. How you doing?
Hey, good. It's Friday. It's a good day. How are
Yes,
you?
right. I'm good. And I can hear you finally.
If we're not having technical difficulties, are we really doing it right?
So transparent moment here. We were 5 minutes trying to get hooked up and I couldn't hear her. And I was like, look, I've done a bunch of these this morning. It's on your end. I called her on the phone. I said, you got to fix that. She switched off the computer to her phone. And we found out, in all honesty, it was not her fault. It was my fault.
I still take full responsibility. Full
Yeah.
responsibility.
That's always fun to be in a relationship as a friend with that guy, right? He screws up all the time and I end up having to take responsibility. It's awesome. Hey, so let me do a little background. I met you when you were doing the marketing at BMW of Chattanooga. You came to work for me for a brief time at Connect Marketing and realized that you could actually make real money doing it for a real company. And you got hired away and you were there for 5 or 6 years or something. And then you went and started your own business. So in a nutshell, what do you do, ma'am?
Wow, that was very concise. I don't think I could be more concise. So I like digital marketing. I love digital marketing, and I just wanted to help more businesses. So started Monican Marketing May of last year. And I do a little bit of all kinds of marketing, but I've really been focusing in on what I call local SEO, which, there's an acronym for everything, but basically how your customers find you when they're looking for your actual business. So like, marketing company near me, shoe store near me. So there's a lot of things that we can do to make you show up first and people to call you. And so I'm super, I'm super excited about that. That's what gets me going.
Well, and also there's other parts of this. I think sometimes we use these big umbrellas. So when you say Google, well, there's a lot to Google. There's Google Ads or search. There's Google Maps, right? There's Google My Business. So when someone says Google, it used to be when someone said Google years ago, it was everybody knew there was one or two things. Now Google can mean a bunch.
Yeah, it can mean a bunch of things. And then some people forget that there's more than just Google. So Bing browser comes installed automatically on computers. So if you've got a little bit older demographic, a lot of times they're using Bing.
Yeah.
There's DuckDuckGo, which is a way for people to not get their information tracked, and you can rank on those. So when I talk about Google, most of the time I'm talking about your Google My Business listing. But there are a lot of different kinds of listings and there's a lot of different ways to do it. But you're right, there's a lot.
There is. And I think, and we'll talk a little bit in just a minute about why I think business owners reach out to different companies and why it's important that they know who they're reaching out to. Because as a business owner, I'm wearing a bunch of hats. And to me, what you do is one of those things that even if I'm a business owner and I'm decent at it, let's say I'm pretty good at it, I promise as a business owner, you're going to do this with your time availability, up and down, and you'll be inconsistent with it. You'll miss stuff. But I want to hit this because it's something you said before when we came on. Regarding Google, there's a spam going on right now, right?
Yeah, so there's an automated phone call that goes out. It's kind of like that phone call that you get 10 times a day that your, car insurance or car extended warranty is going to expire. Yeah, so it's like that. So it calls and it says, hey, your Google listing is unverified. If your listing is unverified, your customers cannot find you. Please press 1 to be connected to verify your listing and press 2 to opt out of these phone calls. Press 2. So I've gotten these calls and I'm curious enough that I almost press 1 just to see if it goes to a company to see how much money they want, but I'm not so curious that I'm willing to get malware and all that stuff. So I'm just going to assume, because I wouldn't do something like that this is spam. And because they're calling me on my business line, I know my Google My Business is verified. They're just literally calling down the phone book and telling people that. And I even have clients of mine who know we've got this stuff tight, who called me in a panic. Hey, they just called me and said my Google listing is unverified. What do I need to do?
This is like the phone call from the IRS that the cops are going to find you if you don't send us $2,000 right now.
Yes. So having your Google listing verified is super important, but don't click the number 1.
If you're getting that call and you go, I don't know anything about Google, call Monica.
Exactly. Call
She'll
me.
figure it out.
Exactly.
So I had a marketing company that did a little bit of the digital side, especially when I brought Sarah on, because you both have that one trait I've said 1,000 times you cannot train. And that's hey, Clint, what do you want to do? And I want to do this. Okay, I'm going to go figure it out. And then you'll either come back with it's done, or here's how you need to do it. Or you'll come back and go, nope, that's a stupid idea. We're not going to do that. And I go, dang it, how about this idea? But you have that trait. And so I had a different company because we did a lot of different things. But one of the things that I love is brainstorming and branding. And it used to be 20 years ago, branding was easier and harder, right? It was easier because it was like you had outdoor, you had radio, you had TV, and you had print. You had, the news. Now you have all of that that's effective in its own way. But now there's hundreds of digital platforms. And so branding is different now. Do you still help people brand, or do you just really narrow focus and say, I do this part that goes into a bigger branding campaign?
I really do both. I can help on the big scale on branding. I've been working on focusing on the local SEO because, like when you're talking about a minute ago, the go figure it out. Google My Business is changing like every millisecond, as are the other listings. And so it takes up a lot of my time just staying on forums and research. And I spent an hour this morning just trying to figure out something that Google said isn't broken that I think is broken. So I spent a lot of time with that. But that said, I mean, you trained me well because I worked with you. So if a company needs overall branding and don't have that, you really need to have your logo and your brand standards and your about us. You need to have that stuff done first and then go and do some local SEO. But if it's me as a business owner, the local element, if I'm a brick and mortar, is the first thing I do. E-commerce can use local too, but for a brick and mortar, that's the first marketing dollar I spend after I have my brand and my logo.
Well, the reason I asked that question is I kind of knew where you were going to take that answer, because your branding component is super important. But when you so if you're a small business and you hire somebody like you that has the experience of helping big companies and other companies with branding, I don't think you're asking questions in a vacuum. In other words, I bet if people sit down with you and they say, I need to work on my Google My Business, you're going to start asking them for logos and pictures and themes. And if they don't have a branding somewhat concept, that's when you say, okay, we got to figure that out before you let me do this.
You're exactly right. Yeah, and that's usually the angle that I take, as opposed to I'm not a huge branding company. I'm not a huge PR company. If you need a multi-million-dollar logo and PR company, I'm not your girl on that. Go get that figured out. But if you don't have a logo and a brand and a message and you're a small, medium-sized business, yeah, totally. I'm there.
Yeah. What are some common mistakes? Let's hear them. Well, and I'll take it back. Let me ask this question first. Do you also help when you say the local Google My Business in the digital world? I've said this last time you were on. Right now, if I'm a business owner, my radio rep is bringing me digital. My TV rep is bringing me digital. There's billboard company. Everybody's a digital expert, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you think Google has a lot of tentacles. The word digital is everything. That's everything from your website to your search to your social media. Do you handle, what I'm saying? Do you get asked those kind of questions all the time?
I do. And I mean, you know me, I'm very down to earth. So I'm all about education. So when I get a new client or I'm just kind of going through the beginning spills of things, I'm going to tell them this is what this is what this is, and just try to give them a little bit of basic information so that they can understand the decisions they're making. I think that a lot of all these other vendors that are bringing things, I think they do a great job, totally, but they don't have the time to sit down and say, but this is what this is compared to that. And so I personally don't believe that you have to do this and you have to do that because we don't have unlimited money.
Right.
So I think about it more from an education standpoint, but I do get a lot of questions like that. And there's a lot of great products out there. So the billboard companies have some great digital products. There's a lot of great things out there. So it is really, really hard as a business owner, even knowing all the acronyms, much less what's going to work for my business.
Think about what you just said, though. If I am the small business owner, one of the reasons I would like to work with somebody is for that reason. If nothing else, just to be able to call you up and go, hey, what would it cost to have you to come in once a month and go over these ideas with me on top of doing the local SEO stuff that you're helping me with? Because you're getting hit. It used to be you got hit by the big 3 or 4. Now you're getting hit by the big 3 or 4 with their 2 or 3 extra products. And now there's companies that they're specialized. I just know right now that business owners get inundated with, I can grow your business. I can increase your leads. I can do this. I can do that. And I think it's important for them to vet it, because as a business owner, the one thing I can't get back. I can make more money. I cannot make more time.
That's absolutely true. And I have some clients that are bigger, like some of the automotive dealers that do pay me just to look at their budgets every month and to go, I'm spending this with this company, this with this company, this with this company. Are these good spends? Are our messages the same? Is there a better use of our money? So I would say, as a small business, I would say limit the number of vendors that you have, because you're going to spend a little bit everywhere and you may
Yeah.
not get enough saturation. But if you're a larger company, having a marketing consultant or having somebody that's like, I'm on your side. I don't care how much you spend. I'm not making a percent of your spend. I just want to look every month at what you're doing, making sure that it lines up with your goals, that everybody's doing on the same page, and what you're doing makes sense. Because sometimes they'll get, something's pretty and shiny, and then they'll buy it, and then they don't even know how to track it.
Yeah. It's really, when I talk to small business owners or business owners of any size, when I ask them about the value of their time and why they charge what they charge, it's usually because they know their business, right? Well, I know where to put the nail. So I've got a specialty. So people pay me because of the specialty. And when
Hmm.
it always shocked me as a marketing guy when people would go, well, man, how much do you charge? And I would tell them, and sometimes they'd be like, okay. And most companies were like, fine. But there's always a handful of companies that go, really? And I'd be like, yeah, because I know where to put the nail. I've been doing this for 20 years, and you don't have the time to figure out where to put the nail. And guess what? Where you put the nail is going to change. So I'll stay up on where the nail needs to go. I'll hammer it in. And so when you're dealing with somebody like that, I think as a business owner, again, it's the time thing. You can have all the time you want this week, but I promise fires are going to pop up next week, and you're not going to have that time. So taking that off their plate is good. But what are some of the mistakes you see them making? Is it just not knowing about their Google? Are there other common things you see the errors made?
Well, I think right now it's a lot of fear.
Mm,
Right now businesses don't know what's up or down with COVID, and so some of them are putting a ton of money into marketing, but they're doing it out of fear because they're scared what's going to happen. And some people have pulled back their marketing altogether, like, I don't know if I've got enough money to do this. So I think that's a big mistake. I think as a business owner, you've just got to step past that fear and make logical decisions and say, you know what, this is a tough time, but I've got to at least be consistent with my marketing. If your business is down, I'm not saying go spend a ton of money on marketing, but if you're a restaurant, if you're, a gym, if you're a spa, if you're one of these businesses that are getting hit really hard, right now is the time to put some money behind some of these local strategies. So, first of all, customers that are shopping find you first. And then two, as we start easing out of this, right? You've put the work in. Local SEO and all your digital strategies, or most of your digital strategies, take time to work. So start now. What are we looking at in June or July?
yeah. And if you do call Monica, I will say this on behalf of Monica. So this does not represent the views of Monican Marketing. And I'll say it on behalf of every marketing company out there. If you hire somebody to work on your marketing or to be a sounding board, understand that when you hand them that, does not relieve you of the obligation to contribute yourself. In other words, there's deadlines you have to hit. There's products you're going to need. There's things and assets you're going to need from folks. And more importantly, it's the expectations. You nailed it. If you start a branding campaign today on TV or on digital or on billboards, you're going to get some immediate, maybe a little rush of, hey, I saw you, I heard you.
Mhm.
But for the branding part and a return on investment, it's weeks, if not months down the road. And if you hire somebody and say, hey, fix me by next week, you either need to understand you're going to pay triple what you should, and what, you know what I'm saying? Or maybe have some realistic expectations. Expectations are vital, don't you think?
I think so. And it's a hard time to have expectations. And going back to your point about marketing, whether or not you're paying somebody, it kind of falls on your shoulder. Like, the best person to ask for a review for your company is you, not me. The best person to do some of these things is you, because you know your customers. So I can help you, I can hold your hand, I can automate systems, I can do all kinds of stuff. But if you're not sharing your own Facebook post on your own page, if you're not asking for reviews, if you're not encouraging your customers to like your Facebook page and your employees to like if you're not doing those small things, what I do can only be so successful.
Well, and yes, and well said. And if Monica or Bob or Tom, whoever you're hiring, saying, "I need this by Thursday," and your expectations is the project is done by next week, and you don't respond to them, that's not going to be on them. It's not going to be on. I'm speaking from past experience. I would send stuff out, and they'd be like, "Hey, is this going to be done next Wednesday?" "Yeah, I don't know. I've been asking you for that logo for 3 weeks. I need the logo, and then I can get it done." They're like, "Oh, yeah, yeah." It's kind of goes both ways. So there was my little tip for setting expectations. And there was something I was going to ask you and go a direction about the branding. I can't remember what it was. And normally I'll jot stuff down, but my brain went dead. It'll pop back up here in just a minute about the branding. But this is a great time to smooth as silk transition into chickens.
Oh,
you see how smooth that was?
That was good.
Do you have chickens?
I do have chickens. I
got to be honest. When I first met you, I'd have never thought you were like, she'll have chickens one day.
Yeah, if I could make a living as a farmer and y'all can figure that out, I think I'd do that. I love being outside. I love being in the dirt. I love chickens. So I've got 10 chickens right now, and they don't like the cold, but they're okay with the cold. I put red lights on them and they started fighting. So I'll tell you, if you have chicken problems, call me. I've had every chicken problem that could probably be had this year. So I've had raccoons, I've had possums, I've had them pecking at each other.
Have you had coyotes?
Not yet. I
Oh,
haven't.
okay.
Oh, thanks for that, though. Now I'm going to worry about coyotes. I've had an eagle.
Oh.
I had an eagle.
I
So,
saw a hawk. Here's a horrible, cool, horrible, terrible story. Pulling my mom and dad's driveway, they have a big hawk that lives back off this part of the yard property, and another little hawk. And I've seen them forever circling. Pull into their yard, and my mom and dad have a bird feeder right here. They have a bunch of bird feeders.
No, don't tell me that story.
Yeah, in midair,
Yeah.
right in front of my window. Nothing but feathers. It was over quickly. I was like, so you've had that same issue?
Yes, it's horrifying. So it's been a tough year for the chickens, but we actually got. I had 5 chickens that I'd gotten last year, and this year, right when we were going on lockdown, so it was March 13th. It was Friday the 13th, and I went, "We're about to go into lockdown. I'm not going to be able to travel the rest of the year. I'm going to go get some baby chickens because." I mean, if you're traveling all the time, you can't have baby chickens because they take a lot of care. So I went and got 9 baby chickens on March 13th. And so we call them our pandemic chickens, or we've got a lot of other names for them. But so yeah, they're grown up and giving us eggs now and causing problems.
And that's great. How many eggs you get a day?
In the summer, you generally get 1 egg per chicken per day. In the winter, when it gets a little colder, you get a little less. So I have 10 chickens and I'll probably get 7 eggs today.
Wow. That's good, though. You're never out of eggs.
No, in fact, the other day I had to start selling some because I had 168 eggs.
Holy mackerel. So are you gardening too? Are you growing your own food?
I did during the summer. We did pretty well. This is a weird year for gardens. I think everything was wrong this year because it's 2020. But yeah, I've got a couple 100 square feet of garden that raised beds.
What's your favorite thing to grow?
Tomatoes and cucumbers. I don't have just one. I gotta have tomatoes and cucumbers.
Look at you. You're a stinking farmer. I had no idea. All right, back to that. Now I told you we're going to talk chickens. One of the things, though, that I want to encourage people if they're looking to find out more about marketing is you've had a pretty diverse career when it comes to marketing, right? BMW did a lot of different things. With me, you did a lot of different things for a short time. Then you went into the car industry, where you actually were, if I'm not mistaken, you were responsible for marketing going out, but you also had vendors that you hired that were helping you do different things. So what were you responsible for 5 or 6 years in those car dealerships?
All of it. I was responsible for a lot of what my daily job was in a car dealership, which is a bigger organization. I had 5 dealers that I managed. was we did have a lot of vendors. So I had a website person, I had an SEO person, I had a pay-per-click person, I had a social media. So I had a vendor for all of these services. So it's really interesting. I was their client. And so now with this role, the role is reversed. So now I'm the company's vendor. And it's really neat because I can take the things that I liked and that I didn't like from those relationships and then apply it forward with my customers now.
You've been on the other side, so it's you know the pain points, and you know what's good and what's not good. Do you like owning your own business?
I do.
You're in
I
the
mean, it's like everywhere I ever worked, I ran it like I ran my own business. I mean, when I worked at everywhere that I go, I've always taken full ownership and just assumed it was my business. So it was always just a natural fit of like, of course, the next thing you're going to do is have your own business because then you're not working for somebody else.
But and this one might be a good point to let people know how much you relate to the business owners you're going to deal with. We won't spend a lot of time on it, but I know for the last few months, especially, you're super focused on making your business more effective and more efficient, which I'll be honest with you, I wish more businesses took serious like that because you're putting a lot of time into making sure your business is tight from processes to branding to the sales component. Do you like that part of it, or is that the part that you know you have to do, and so you're doing it?
A little bit of both. So it's interesting, like when it comes down to marketing my own self and my own business, I don't love doing that. Like I would pay you to market my business and I'll go market everybody else's
It's
business.
crazy,
Isn't
but
that
go ahead.
crazy?
You're good at it. Yeah, but I get it.
Well, I do it all day for everybody else. And so then it's like I don't want to be selfish and do it for myself. So you'll very rarely see me like touting myself. And so it's been good because I get all my clients from referrals. But sometimes I'm like, hey, I've got some capacity, I should probably do some marketing. So that's interesting. When it comes down to the processes, I've been working on that a lot. And I like that. I love processes. I love processes for businesses. So when I go in and I'm like, okay, what happens when the customer picks up the product? It goes to the cash register, and then what happens? Well, and you didn't mention this. I worked at the Hunter Museum as the events manager for
Oh,
six
that's right.
years. So,
Yeah.
like, I planned weddings for 6 years and huge events. And so, step one, step two, step three, step four, I dig that stuff. So, I like that. It takes you're like you said, it's hard for me as a business owner to do the things that I'm asking my clients to do. So, I know it firsthand.
But during the process, though, you have learned a lot about your business, haven't you? I mean, hasn't it been like a cathartic thing to do, a good, like almost therapy to look at your business like you would another person's business?
I mean, therapy, that might be taken a little too far, Clint.
What kind of relationship do you have with your business, Monica? How do you talk to your business? What's the love
Oh,
language of your business? But I mean,
no,
seriously, it is.
yeah, I mean, no, it really has been good because, um, and this is one of the things that you always taught me. You said, if somebody needs to do something, you say yes, and you go figure out how to do it. And so, with this Google My Business thing, it's been changing really quickly. And so I'd be like, yeah, let's do that. And then we just kind of go do stuff, me and my team. And so now we're like, okay, for every client, we end up needing to do this, 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 and this. All right, let's go write that stuff down. Whereas before we were just kind of doing it, I'd get in there and be like, oh, look, there's a new, like right now, you can put that you have takeout available and curbside service in Google My Business. Like there's all this new stuff. And so I do like slowing down. And so it teaches me what each team member's doing, how they're doing it, and how those different processes rely on each other.
And I think business owners run into a lot of stress in their life because they don't do what you're talking about for their business. And so they end up reaching out to somebody like you to help fix a part of their business. But in big picture, I've consulted some businesses in the past and I say, you're focusing on the cough and the sneeze and the body aches, and you're not focusing on why you're having the cough, the sneeze, and the body aches. And a lot of times it's because when's the last time you sit down and did what Monica's doing on her business? And you go, oh, it's when I started the business 5 years ago. Well, your business gets stiff and unflexible in some areas, and it overgrows here and it's not grown enough there. You gotta tend it like a garden. You gotta tend your business like a garden. You like that?
I like that tie-in. That was
Smooth.
that was super
Um,
smooth.
all right. So how do people find out more about Monican Marketing if after the first of the year or whenever they're ready, they want to reach out and say, I want to talk to you?
They can find me on my website, monicanmarketing.com, Facebook Monican Marketing. You can call or text me 423-463-0134. Happy to just do a sit down talk. I mean, I learn something every time I talk to people. So, if you're not sure where you're going, you just want to have a quick chat, that's cool.
That's very cool. Hey, Monica,
Hey,
thank you.
thank you.
It's
I'm glad
almost
we got this
Christmas.
down working.
Next week you're taking is next week just Christmas week?
Yeah, Christmas week, all week long.
Yeah. Hope you have a good Christmas. Hope your
I hope you
chickens
have
have a
too.
Hey, real quick, do you get a gift for your chickens?
No,
I didn't know if they get extra food that day or they got to wear the little bows like people dress up their cats and dogs and stuff. You put little bows on your chickens. That'd be a good Facebook post.
no, but my chickens are so spoiled. They're so spoiled. They don't need Christmas. They get spoiled every day.
Oh, you're a good chicken owner.
I try.
I think I just called you a bad word. I'm not sure if that's good or not. Bye, Monica. See you,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Thank
See
you
ya.
very much, as always.